Thanks for checking out this video. Don't forget, like and subscribe. You're on the air. Who is this? And where are you calling from?
Hey, y'all. It's Brandon here from Portsmouth. I was thinking about that question about favorite obscure wrestler.
Yes.
And what came to mind was actually a tag team of Hardcore Holly and Crash Holly, specifically when they were doing that gimmick of being super heavyweights, and Crash would walk around with a scale, and it was saying that he's like over 400 pounds. And I remember they were like on commentary for some match, and Kane was wrestling, and someone like Kane was wrestling, and JR is like, well, what do you think about wrestling someone like Kane? And Hardcore is like, well, I don't know, he's not really a super heavyweight. We really want to just wrestle super heavyweights. And just ridiculous stuff like that. It was corny, it was stupid, but for whatever reason, it got my attention, and I loved it for the time they were doing that.
Well, Brandon, I want to thank you very much for the call. Yes, that was I would consider that one an obscure one, because we're talking the wrestling boom of the 90s, and you had big stars and Stone Cold and Bret Hart and The Undertaker and Shawn Michaels and The Rock and all these guys, and if your favorite was Bob and Crash Holly, I will take that as an obscure favorite wrestler. Let's go to the phones. You are on the air. Who is this, and where are you calling from?
Hey, it's Don the Don Rosberg.
Don, tell me about
Rad
this gimmick.
Ford.
Tell me about it.
So, you can actually find it on the YouTubes, and it's a Grunt the wrestling movie. But had Mad Dog Joe DiCurso, and it's like 79 or something like that. Had a match, and his opponent jumped jumped, and he kind of got his head caught in the ring, and then Mad Dog, he jumped, and the guy's head came clear off, flew into the audience, and then he supposedly killed himself, and then he became the Mask, or did he? It was kind of, but yeah, it's on the YouTube's Grunt the wrestling movie.
So this is okay, all right. So stuff. Yes, Grunt the wrestling movie. I got
it. Dick Murdoch's in it.
Yes.
Yeah, Dick Murdoch's in it. Exotic Adrian Street, he's in it. And, that's great stuff. It's a documentary. It says documentary right there.
Oh, does it?
The thing right there.
Okay.
So it's real. It's real.
Well, yes, I'm well aware of Grunt of the wrestling movie. I want to thank you very much for the call. You didn't mention that, however, in your text message. You made it sound like some local indie in your area. Some guy's head got chopped off, and then he came back and had a new gimmick. Now I got it. Grunt the wrestling movie. A classic, right? Okay. Let's go to the phones. You're on the air. Who is this, and where are you calling from?
Hi, Brian. This is Michael from Rochester. Thank you for taking my call. And my most obscure wrestler is actually somebody that I know personally. He was known as the Rochester Roadblock. And he wrestled in WCW as the Roadblock.
You know this guy? Wow.
And I'll tell you how I knew him. My parents were really good friends with a guy named Charles Savuto. And Charles Savuto was in a biker gang. And he was in a biker gang with a guy named Joseph DeQuisto, which is the Rochester Roadblock. And the first wrestling show I ever went to was at the Rochester War Memorial when I was 9 years old. And the main event was Hulk Hogan against the one-man gang for the World Wrestling Federation title. And Joseph DeQuisto wanted to be a wrestler. So that year, he ended up training to become a professional wrestler. So that night, he told Charles Savuto and my parents that he's going to jump the railing and go after Hulk Hogan. And you could actually ask your boy Dave Meltzer. He knows about this.
Oh, yes.
What ended up happening was he jumped the railing, and you know how Edge used to slide into the ring like really nice and gracefully before you come to the ring?
Oh, yeah.
Well, this guy was 400 pounds, legit. So when he slid into the ring, he wasn't so graceful, and the one-man gang gave him a shoot 747 splash. And then security took him away. And then about 6 months later, he trained to become a professional wrestler. And it was cool to see him on WCW shows. He actually got racked by Lex Luger, I think on an episode of Nitro.
I remember this. It was freaking awesome. The place went nuts for that.
He wrestled the Big Show, and he wrestled Benoit and a few other guys during that era.
Yes.
So that was my favorite obscure wrestler.
I will accept that one. That was I seem to remember Dave telling that story. And that guy's still alive. Rochester Roadblock. He's not even that old. He's like 62 right now. He's one of those guys like, when I was watching during the heyday of the Monday Night Wars, I was in my early 20s. And, so it seemed like everybody was much older than me. But really, they weren't that much older. Like, I'm catching up to some of these guys now. But yes, the Rochester Roadblock. I remember that Luger rack. That place went nuts when he racked that roadblock. It was one of those. That was one of those Luger things where it's like, this guy is so over, and they drop the ball every single time when they give Luger a push. How about that? Have you grabbed your F4WOnline.com shirt yet? Well, we got a bunch of them. They're up in the store right now. F4WOnline.com/shirts. You can grab your -5 stars shirt, your Dave Meltzer Wrestling Observer shirts, even the brand new After Dark Radio shirt. You love Granny? We have Granny's Gang shirts. Have you ever won a shoot battle royal? Probably not, but you can tell people you did. So check out the store. All of these great shirts and more. It's through Pro Wrestling Tees. F4WOnline.com/shirts. That's F4WOnline.com/shirts.